This is the story of LaShaya Stine, a 16-year-old honor student who vanished from Aurora, Colorado on July 15, 2016. The night she disappeared, LaShaya was scheduled for a job interview the following afternoon. But when her family woke up that Friday morning, LaShaya was gone. A week later, surveillance footage emerged, showing LaShaya walking alone through the early morning darkness, crossing an intersection near her home before disappearing from view. She has never been seen again. Within weeks of her disappearance, federal investigators received disturbing intelligence suggesting LaShaya had become a victim of human trafficking. 9 years have passed since that July night, and LaShaya remains missing. Her case has drawn the sustained attention of the FBI and exposed the hidden networks of traffickers operating across state lines. This is LaShaya's story, and the ongoing federal investigation that continues to this day. LaShaya wasn't your stereotypical at-risk teen. She was an honor student at George Washington High School, with dreams as bright as her future seemed assured. That summer, she'd secured an internship at the University of Colorado Hospital, a prestigious opportunity that aligned perfectly with her nursing school aspirations. She was learning to drive, earning pocket money from a part-time job, and navigating the typical push and pull of teenage independence with her protective mother, Sabrina Jones. On the evening of July 14th, everything appeared normal. LaShaya had a job interview scheduled for the following afternoon at a local restaurant. She seemed excited about the opportunity to earn some extra spending money during her summer break. After exchanging goodnight wishes with her mother, she retreated to her basement bedroom, where she would be seen alive for the last time by her younger brothers around 2 a.m. They remembered her telling them to quiet down and go to sleep. They remembered her closing their bedroom door with the gentle authority of an older sister. What they couldn't have known was that those mundane, everyday moments would become the final memories her family would have of LaShaya's voice, her presence, her essence as part of their world. By 2:30 a.m., LaShaya had vanished into the Colorado night, leaving behind only questions that have tormented investigators and haunted her family for nearly a decade. When Sabrina Jones woke up that July morning and discovered her daughter was gone, she knew immediately that something was catastrophically wrong. LaShaya had left behind her wallet, her identification, even her phone charger, clear indicators that whatever had drawn her from the house, she hadn't planned to be gone long. But LaShaya's cell phone was gone, and with each unanswered call, Sabrina's concern escalated into panic. By the third call, the phone was routing directly to voicemail, a digital dead end that would become the first of many investigative frustrations. Aurora police initially dismissed the case as a routine runaway situation, while Sabrina frantically searched neighborhood streets and pleaded with officers to take her seriously. Precious hours slipped away. Hours that in trafficking cases can mean the difference between recovery and disappearance into a criminal network designed to erase identities. The breakthrough came when Police Chief Nick Metz returned from vacation and personally reviewed the case. Something about the circumstances struck him as fundamentally wrong, prompting him to visit Sabrina's home and reopen the investigation with fresh eyes and renewed urgency. What they discovered changed everything. Surveillance footage from July 15th, captured at 2:23 a.m., showing LaShaya walking alone near the intersection of East Montview Boulevard and North Peoria Street. The grainy black and white images show a teenage girl crossing the street with purposeful strides, then disappearing beyond the camera's range, vanishing as completely as if the earth had swallowed her whole. This footage became both a blessing and a curse for investigators. It proved LaShaya had left voluntarily, walking under her own power with no visible signs of distress or coercion, but it also raised darker questions. Who was she meeting? How had someone convinced a cautious, sheltered teenager to sneak out in the middle of the night? And most chilling of all, what happened in those crucial moments after she stepped beyond the surveillance camera's protective gaze? The investigation's scope expanded rapidly as tips began flooding in from across multiple states. LaShaya had allegedly been spotted in Kansas, Arizona, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Missouri, each sighting consistent with the operational patterns of interstate trafficking networks. As weeks turned into months, a horrifying picture began to emerge. The tips weren't random false alarms. They formed a pattern that investigators recognized all too well. LaShaya's suspected journey through multiple states, the reports of her being kept drugged and constantly moved, the sightings near hotels known for prostitution, all pointed toward involvement in organized human trafficking. Colorado sits at the crossroads of several major trafficking corridors, making it a strategic hub for criminal networks moving victims across state lines. In October 2016, just 3 months after LaShaya's disappearance, FBI's Rocky Mountain Innocence Lost Task Force recovered 9 child trafficking victims in Colorado and Wyoming, arresting multiple traffickers. This timing raises uncomfortable questions about whether LaShaya encountered networks that were already under federal surveillance. The psychological warfare began almost immediately. Sabrina found herself targeted by online trolls who mocked her daughter's disappearance, claiming LaShaya was being prostituted across multiple states and finding entertainment in the family's anguish. These cruel attacks represented a secondary trauma that amplifies the suffering of families dealing with missing persons cases. Worse still were the scammers who attempted to exploit Sabrina's desperation. Multiple individuals contacted her claiming to have LaShaya, demanding thousands of dollars for her safe return. One particularly sophisticated scheme involved a woman named Rosari Young, who was later arrested during a prostitution sting. When police examined her phone, they discovered elaborate text conversations with Sabrina, threatening that LaShaya would have to work for it if the ransom wasn't paid. These scams reveal the predatory ecosystem that surrounds missing persons cases, where vulnerable families become targets for further exploitation. Sabrina received demands for gift cards, cash payments, and wire transfers, all from individuals who had never seen LaShaya, but recognized an opportunity to profit from a mother's grief. Each false lead deepened the family's trauma, while potentially diverting investigative resources from legitimate tips. The cruelty of these schemes goes beyond simple financial fraud. They represent a systematic attack on hope itself, weaponizing a parent's love and desperation for criminal gain. Meanwhile, legitimate law enforcement efforts intensified. In November 2020, Aurora police and the FBI executed a search warrant on a vacant property near where LaShaya was last seen, spending 3 days collecting evidence with cadaver dogs, jackhammers, and concrete saws. The extensive nature of this search suggests they had developed specific intelligence about the location, yet no details about their findings have ever been publicly released. The FBI's sustained involvement in LaShaya's case signals something significant. Federal agencies maintain active wanted pages and continue investigating 8 years after her disappearance, indicating either ongoing intelligence value or credible hope for resolution. When federal resources remain committed to individual cases for nearly a decade, it typically means the investigation has broader implications beyond a single missing person. LaShaya's case emerged during a period of intensified federal focus on trafficking networks. In 2016, Operation Cross Country X became the largest trafficking operation in FBI history, recovering 82 children across 106 cities. Colorado's task force recovered the most victims during a nationwide sting that summer, with 149 underage trafficking victims rescued and 153 traffickers arrested. This context suggests LaShaya may have disappeared into networks that were actively being disrupted by federal operations. The timing is crucial for understanding why her case has maintained federal attention. Trafficking investigations operate across multiple timeframes: immediate rescue efforts, medium-term intelligence gathering, and long-term network disruption. Cases like LaShaya's often provide crucial intelligence about criminal operations, even when individual victims aren't recovered. Under Colorado law, minors under 18 engaging in commercial sex are automatically considered trafficking victims, regardless of force, fraud, or coercion. This legal framework existed when LaShaya disappeared. Yet her case reveals the gap between policy and practical investigation capabilities. The reward escalation tells its own story about investigative priority. From initial local offerings to Crime Stoppers' $15,000 reward, the increasing financial incentives demonstrate growing institutional investment. Reward amounts often correlate with federal funding availability and investigative confidence that credible information exists. Age progression technology became crucial as years passed without resolution. LaShaya was 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighed 150 pounds, and had a distinctive quarter-sized round scar on her chest, identifying features that investigators hoped might help locate her years later. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created updated images showing what she might look like as an adult, acknowledging the investigation's shift from immediate recovery to long-term identification efforts. Today, LaShaya would be 25 years old. 9 years have passed since she walked across that intersection and vanished into the darkness, yet the FBI continues actively investigating her disappearance. This sustained federal attention nearly a decade later suggests either ongoing intelligence operations or credible belief that the case remains solvable. The investigation's legacy extends far beyond individual case resolution. Enhanced coordination between agencies, improved digital tracking capabilities, and refined understanding of trafficking recruitment methods have all emerged from cases like LaShaya's. Her disappearance occurred during a critical transition period when law enforcement was adapting to digital-age trafficking methods, and the lessons learned continue influencing how authorities approach similar cases today. Recent federal operations in Colorado have recovered dozens of trafficking victims, including children as young as 3 months old. While these successes don't directly impact LaShaya's case, they demonstrate the continued relevance of trafficking investigations and the networks that may have been responsible for her disappearance. The psychological toll on families during extended investigations creates secondary trauma that receives insufficient attention. Sabrina Jones developed stress-related health conditions over the years of uncertainty, illustrating how missing persons cases affect entire families across extended periods. The not knowing becomes its own form of torture, preventing the closure that allows healing to begin. What makes LaShaya's case particularly haunting is how ordinary it began. She wasn't involved with known criminals, wasn't using drugs, wasn't exhibiting high-risk behaviors typically associated with trafficking victims. She was simply a teenager, making a poor decision to sneak out and meet someone, a decision that countless teenagers make without devastating consequences. This ordinariness is precisely what makes her case so important for understanding modern trafficking recruitment. Predators specifically target young people who appear normal and stable, recognizing that these victims are less likely to be immediately missed and more likely to be dismissed as runaways when they disappear. LaShaya's complete digital disappearance suggests either sophisticated operational security or immediate removal from all connected devices. Anyone with information about LaShaya's whereabouts is asked to contact Aurora police. Her family continues hoping for answers, not just about what happened to LaShaya, but about who was responsible and whether justice can still be served. The search continues, not just for LaShaya, but for understanding how our systems can better protect vulnerable young people and prevent other families from experiencing this devastating uncertainty.